What's up, y'all? I know I look a mess. I know I got this pimple right here, but I'm not gonna lie, it's the winter season. And I don't got no heat right now, so I'm gonna just be in this blanket. But I just wanted to come on here and talk to y'all about the Diddy documentary and just like stuff that I learned, like, just stuff that we all can learn about it and just, what I like got from it. First off, I'm gonna talk about like, that was crazy. I did not think all of that was going to be in there. And it really just shows you, like, how you can't really, like, look up to these celebrities. Like, of course, you can, like, love their music. Like, even R. Kelly, I'm going to be honest, I still listen to R. Kelly. Like, R. Kelly's music is really, like, beautiful and it's really deep, and it's just crazy to, like, really think, like, it's really to think, like, some of these celebrities who made some of this beautiful art and just, did these beautiful things and make these beautiful sounds are, like, so, like, messed up mentally, because I don't remember too much about the R. Kelly documentary, but I do remember the one part that stood out to me was when he turned, like, a regular girl into, like, a dyke or something. Like, it was just crazy. But or when he would be peeing on girls that was, like, younger than him, like, that was a teenager, and how he used to, like, go to high school and, like, pick up girls, like, just all those type of things. So, it really just, like so after that, it's so crazy to think that these, like, artists are like this that sick. But most of them have, like, a lot of childhood trauma. They go through a lot of stuff. And I feel like that's another thing that's, like, not spoken of in the black community. Well, our generation is better with it, but like, back in the day, people didn't talk about their traumas and what they was going through. And it's like when they got into this high position of power, they just abused that power. So I definitely think, like, and of course you do gotta, like, but then it's like, because I've heard some crazy stuff. I'm not a therapist, but, like, for some reason I always, like, would attract people who had, like, some dark stuff that they went through, and they would tell me about it. So people would be going through some crazy stuff, and it can be like somebody could look normal or could seem normal. And that's why, like, I truly believe, like, of course not to the point where you're soft, but I truly believe we should be, like, nicer to each other, because you never know what anyone's gone through or what anyone has been through. But I just, so yeah, I'm gonna get into it. So the first episode, that was, like, the episode where they was talking about how he got in, his childhood, his background, and his mom, and how he got bullied. And I feel like his childhood, and there probably are people who were raised right or had a decent childhood who probably turned effed up, but most of these people who were doing these crazy things probably had, like, most of them had, like, tough childhoods. Like Michael Jackson, he was addicted to drugs, and he was, like, they had him for all type of rumors, but he didn't have a childhood. His dad was crazy. So, same thing with R. Kelly. I think he was touched, right? And I forgot the other people. I know they say something about Dan Snyder. He was like an outcast, and nobody ever wanted him. So it's crazy to think, like, a lot of these celebrities have, like, had low self esteem or was abused. Like, y'all know Tupac. Y'all know before he got big, y'all, he used to get bullied in school. Like, he didn't really have friends like that. He used to stay in himself. But I don't think Tupac was, because it just didn't seem like it. Like, Tupac, like, he looked deep. Like, like the other people, like Diddy, he's not, he doesn't look, but Tupac, he seemed like he looked decent. Like, he doesn't see, like, he didn't, you know what I mean? It just seemed like he was a cool person. I don't think Tupac had any dark secrets, I mean, besides the fact that, like, who he was in the past, and, he probably wasn't really that hood, but I don't think Tupac was, like, a monster. But yeah, I'm gonna get back to it. That first one shocked me, cause it was like, I remember in one scene, he it showed that he went into the room and his mom tried to tell him something and he slapped his mom and called her a bitch. I was like, what the, like, even if your mom did abuse you, because there are some abusive moms, I feel like for it to even get to that point, like, I would just move out. Like, especially if you have all that money, just move out. Just cut her off. But it gets to the point where you slap your mom and choke her to the ground, like, that's crazy to me. And just seeing how he like set Tupac and like he had Biggie killed, he had Tupac killed, and I feel like he probably did because he was mad that Tupac didn't want to work with him. It was like it just goes to show you, like, I think Diddy had very low self esteem. That was like the first thing. I feel like his, like, because when you're bullied, people don't know. People think it's just like, oh, you get talked about and you move on. But most of the kids who was bullied too, they're probably getting bullied at home. That's probably why they get bullied by other people. We go to what's familiar unconsciously. And when you're going through all that as a kid, you don't know, like, you're not thinking this, but like in the back of your mind, like your subconscious mind, it's like this wound, right? Where you just feel like you're worthless. Nobody loves you, you know. And that was what Diddy had. I think deep down, people like that, they just want to feel like loved by people, right? They just want to feel liked. But, because he didn't have that, and then he got all that money, he abused his power because he never got his heart right. He never got his mind right. He was still affected by all those traumas. That's why he was doing all those drugs or having all that, having sex with all those girls, you know, stuff like that, because, he was trying to make up for something he felt like he didn't have in himself. And that's like that sense of I'm valuable, people like me, people want me around. That's a real thing, man. And that can drive people to very dark places because who wants to feel unloved? Who wants to feel alone? Who wants to feel like they cannot get a girlfriend unless they rape her or unless they like do some crazy stuff or unless they like splurge on her? Nobody wants to feel like that. So I get it. I mean, I'm not saying anything that Diddy did was right because I truly don't think so. But I'm just saying, like, when I seen the documentary, I mean, don't get me wrong. I think he needs deep help. He needs to take shrooms, ayahuasca. He needs to cleanse. He needs to meditate. He needs to pray. He needs to do all of it. But at the same time, I'm not quick to judge him and be like, you know what I mean? Because I get it. Because, a lot of people who was bullied or who had like toxic parents, like my dad, who had toxic parents, they end up turning out, to be monsters. My dad, he got bullied. He used to get bullied, and he told me how his parents was, and I mean, he wasn't as bad as Diddy. I ain't gonna sit up here and sit like that, but he was a jerk. He wasn't a good person. So, that's like that's like a hard wound because, that's like your sense of self. And once that sense of self is damaged, and then you don't have anyone to talk to, and you're just going through life, like, you get that money and you get that power, they go crazy, and that's like another thing. Like, the human mind is a very delicate thing. Like, you got to be really careful with the human psyche because, people be going, like, people be going crazy, like mental disorders and stuff like that. 9 times out of 10, that stuff isn't even, you're not just born with that stuff, it's because you were in a toxic environment, you went through a lot of stuff, like bipolar disorder. Like, I think there's this thing called multiple personalities, and it's where your mind like splits off into different people. Like, so it's like, say I'm one person, right? And then you have another person. And that's like a whole different person inside of one person. And they become that way like when you go through like a lot of trauma. Um, excuse me, but it's just crazy to think that like how so many people in the industry was like abused. It's almost like Hollywood is full of broken people, but I feel like that just goes to show you too. You know, a lot of people who go through the hardest things, it's like they be having the greatest gifts. Like Michael Jackson, he had that hard childhood, but he ended up being one of the best singers. Tyler Perry, if y'all don't know, he went through hell with his parents, but you know, I mean, even though now stuff is starting to come out, and that's the thing, like that's why, like before you get money, or if you ever get money and you feel like you had a hard life, you gotta go to like you gotta do some form of therapy. Like I don't care if it's shrooms, a spiritual therapist, but like of course we don't want to be broke, but after a while, money does not solve your problems. Like money is important because you know you can't do nothing without money, but after you can buy everything you need, that will not fix your problems or heal you, you know, like heal you, right? Like that will not bring you happiness. It will not, well, it can make you experience happy things, but if you're depressed and, you know, you feel worthless and you feel like nobody loves you and you just living with that day to day, like no experience you can buy is gonna make you feel good inside, you know? So like, you know, I feel like this is just a lesson to show like why therapy is important. You know, like you can do psychedelics, you can go to like, you know, people who are more underground, like holistic therapists, because that's what I do. Because I'm gonna be honest, I feel like I had a tough child, I had a hard childhood too. So you know, I don't go to regular therapy because I feel like, because I heard, because, you know, remember, I've been around a lot of people who had went through traumatic stuff. And they all said the same thing. They'd be like, yeah, I got a therapist, but I'm still on my medicine. You know, I still feel messed up. And it just seemed like they don't get any better. So, you know, I remember this one girl, she said that, you know, she has a therapist. She'd be like, yeah, I be going to therapy. And they just be like, I just be talking and they just look at me. They don't really say anything. That's what she told me. So I was like, nah, you know, like regular therapy, like with the license and, you know, and that's like, I don't even like go into the whole system because I really don't think they know what they're talking about. I feel like holistic is really the way, like the people you see on social media, because, you know, like regular therapists, they don't know what they're doing. I feel like, because, like, if I'm telling you, like, if I just tell you some crazy stuff, you're just going to look at me? You're just going to look at me? You ain't going to say anything? You ain't going to give me advice? Like, dang, I might as well just do shrooms. They gonna give me the whole breakdown. They gonna connect me to my inner kid. They gonna tell me how to change my life. They gonna give me affirmations to use. Like, you know what I mean? So it's just stuff like that. But yeah, you know, it's like it's so crazy to think. Like y'all know DMX, he used to have it bad too. I think his mom used to beat him with a broom and beat him with some other stuff, and he was like poor. Like his story was crazy. That's why these celebrities be ended up on drugs too, because they be having these traumatic childhoods, and they get this money, and because they never did the healing, they just use their money to they're unconsciously trying to soothe that inner kid, because when you get high off of anything, you're not thinking about your trauma, you're just feeling good, you're just feeling hyped. But that's it for this video, y'all. Well, I think I'm gonna add one more thing too, but that's crazy he killed Tupac, and then the way Diddy did it was where he thought Biggie set him up. It was crazy too, because it's like he wanted to drive them apart, you know. And it's like, you know, it's like I can't even judge him, because it's like, you know, he was hurting inside. Like he went through it, you know. he hated himself. So, you know, this is what people do. Like, when people hate themselves, man, and they feel worthless, like, they do some crazy, like, you do some crazy stuff. Like, you will hurt other people because you're hurting. But that's this video, y'all. Like, comment, and subscribe. And tell me what y'all thought about the documentary.